Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you need someone for a short period of time to do
Mm,
like a project, and then you'll find, especially early on in your company, like you just don't have any work for them, and what they might do for you isn't what you need right now, and
mm.
so you can really need to save the cash and use it on other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of taking a pivot here. So what do you feel like is the most misunderstood part of building a product that users usually stick with over time?
I guess I go back to the Steve Jobs
Mm.
approach of people don't know what they want. You need to show
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Like people will do way too much asking of other people about different things and be like, oh well, this one person said that they need this, and it's like, when you really get into it, it's like you can't go off other people's advice. You got to either know what the right thing is to build, or you've got to, get some people who actually know about that customer segment or have done a similar business before if you really want to listen to other people. But I would recommend really not. Market research, I think, is BS for the most
Mm.
part. People don't know what they want, um, and so that would be my main thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. People really don't have an like you said, like a lot of times we like what we think as a consumer is the problem usually isn't. And a lot of times we need some sort of like you said, somebody to tell us that hey, you actually don't need that, you need this instead. So we're actually showing them through those things.
Yeah.
So a couple of things here. So how do you feel like how do you balance the short-term vision or the short-term wins versus like your long-term product vision?
Yeah, so I took this test called the Crystallizer Assessment.
Mm,
This organization called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, has it, and you can go take it for free. And it tells you if you're a visionary, which most entrepreneurs are,
mm,
and or an integrator. Some rare entrepreneurs are both visionary and integrators, but me, I'm very low in integrator skills, and that's the actual integration of the ideas into your startup. And
yep.
so it is very tough to manage your long-term vision and things that you want to do with the day-to-day tasks and what do I need to do right now and next. Because what your long-term vision is doesn't necessarily need to be done today. You might need to do some other tasks to get you to the next hurdle. So I kind of knowing yourself
Yeah.
and figuring out how am I going to get to the next stage? What am I missing? I think it takes a lot of like self-realization,
Yeah.
um,
Humility.
self-awareness, humility to be able to see your own flaws and kind of humbly and honestly figure out what do I really need and where am I weak here.
Yeah, I love that. So I'll make sure to link that test in the show notes. That's great. So as somebody who, as you just said, is you're a visionary and you have some you're not as strong in the integration piece of it. So how have you kind of worked around that? I mean, is it a lot of like outsourcing or just kind of knowing yourself and it's like, hey, I just got to get this done.
I mean, it's a work in progress.
Mm,
I recently am using these new AIs with memory,
yep.
which they just coming out with last week, announcing. So to kind of be my integrator and understand and see if that works, because I had tried to hire some people for integrators. Integrator is a six-figure salary type job,
Yeah.
equity position. So I don't have the cash or the ability really to do that now. I had still looked at it and tried it, and I had some people had advised me maybe look at college recently graduated college students who might be willing to do it for less. But the problem is they don't know how to integrate yet.
Yeah. They're
They
not
haven't done
integrated.
it, so I don't really see that would be able to work for me. I need someone who has executed these types of things before in the future. But I think with integrator, you can kind of teach yourself to be a little bit better of an
Hmm.
integrator. You can improve those skills, and because they're very measurable type things. Setting yourself a schedule, visionary. I can really get down a path that is not going to pay off right now. And
Yeah.
I think the integrator thing is how are we going to do this right now? What do we need to do next? Not what do we need to do in 6 months or in a year,
Hmm.
or what would be nice if we had. It's like let's just move to the next step one by one. And so kind of that thinking has got me to improve my integrator skills a little bit.
I love it. Well, so that's what I talk about a lot, and like, I mean, on the podcast, but like with my clients too, is where a lot of people like they don't know what's next, right? Like they're like, hey, I met this great potential client or whatever it is that I think we really hit it off, but now what do I do? It's like, how do I stay in touch with them, like that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that like just thinking of the next step is, I feel like, can be a huge win for entrepreneurs because we miss it so often.
Yeah, you've got to have some kind of process
Yeah.
involved, and you've got to build those processes out over time. Common term is SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures.
Yes.
What happens in this process? Write it out, right? And then you're going to change that standard operating procedure. What happens when I get a customer? What type of email should they receive? How do I want to store their information? Are there different types of customers? Should they get different information, et cetera?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, you gotta, and again, like a lot of this is, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, you can talk to people like you said, but a lot of it's just kind of trial and error.
Yeah.
Where like you figure out like, okay, I thought that, this CRM or whatever was going to help me store my client information, my customer information, and it didn't do the job I thought it was going to do. So now I've got to pivot. I got to try something else. So, I mean, you just gotta keep iterating over and over and over and over again until you are ultimately getting the business that you want and the one you want to live in.
Yeah, like you said, the trial and error part is entrepreneurship, and
Yes.
that is
Yes.
why the taking action is so important. Is because then you're doing the trial, and then you've got to see the error. And so if you aren't doing it, if you're just researching it, you're not going to have the trial, and you're not going to know the error.
Yes. Well, so one of my, I did another podcast with a good friend of mine now, Jimmy Bosco, and he talks about this guy Robert Tesian, who was like a big part of like sequencing like the human DNA and all that kind of stuff. And one of his sayings is just run the experiment. Like just run the experiment, just like do the thing, make 4, 5, 10 whatever mistakes, and then iterate, and then try it again, run another experiment, and do it again until again you're getting hopefully the results that you're actually driving towards. But
Yeah, you said do the thing from I don't know if you've listened to or maybe listened to Chris Williamson.
Yep. Oh,
Do
yeah.
the thing, tweets it all the time. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go, do it now. Stop waiting. Do it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about entrepreneurship, how ultimately it's, I mean, it rests on us, right? Like we've got to show up, we got to do the work, we got to figure stuff out. But if you had to, build a product tomorrow from scratch, starting at zero, what are like the first, couple of people that you would want on your team, and why would you want them there?
So the first thing I would do before any people is I would go and look at my competitors right away.
Okay.
Who is already trying to solve this problem? Because almost always someone has attempted the problem, and there's varying solutions that already exist. I think it's pretty rare that you're gonna find zero solutions to the problem. And if you do find zero solutions, you're probably not looking broad enough.
Right.
So that would be the main thing. And then, as I said before, I would go look at what don't people like about these things. And then, so moving to the people aspect, I would look at who knows how to make this thing, who can advise me on the materials, on the manufacturing process, on how could we simplify this and reduce the number of parts needed. I think a common mistake many entrepreneurs make is they're trying to overcomplicate a product, and they really need to reduce the parts, the utility, and even though I said before you got to add utility, I think people often overcomplicate and try to what's called scope creep, right? They try to just get too many solutions into one thing, and then you can't do the main thing that you're trying to do, and so it just becomes a big mess.
I love that. Well, if anybody's like, we do one thing well first, and then maybe iterate with some additional, solutions if it makes sense. But Nick, thank you again. This has been fantastic having you on the show. But as we kind of wrap up the episode, what's kind of on the horizon for 2025 for you guys?
Well, we've got the glowing cord bricks that just came out. So we're getting them reviews right now on Amazon. We started selling a few on our website.
Love it.
And so we're going to be pushing those throughout the year. Cool, like summer product, like glow in the dark, nighttime, fireflies, all that. And then they both make great stocking stuffers. So, a lot of our sales are done at the end of the year. And so we're preparing a lot of content throughout the year. And then I've got another product, which I'm almost ready to announce. I guess I'll mention the name of it. It's called Mug Brick.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a drink holder. So it's for your desk. So it's not quite a cord management product. So it's kind of our first iteration away from cord management. And, the purpose of that is the vision for the brand is to be brick products. And so, brick industries, brick brands, we're working on the name, but brick something. And so we got another brick coming out later this year, Mug Brick. And so that'll be cool just to see if we can, create something that is not a cord management product and have success with that too. And we'll go from there.
I love it. Well, Nick, thank you again. This has been it's been a fantastic conversation. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm really glad to have you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. But anybody listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. I will include all the links that Nick mentioned, so you guys can find him. Super easy, and you can find the glow in the dark and then the mug brick when that comes out too. But thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.